Lesson 7-4, Day 2. Our learning target today says I can multiply and divide numbers expressed in scientific notation. Our essential question is very similar. It says, how do you multiply and divide numbers that are written in scientific notation? So our first example, we have two numbers that are written in scientific notation, and the directions say to multiply and write your answer in scientific notation. So multiplying these two numbers together, 2.5 times 10 to the third power and 3 times 10 to the fourth power. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use the commutative property that we learned about back in chapter 1, and I'm going to do some rearranging. So basically we have 2.5 times 10 to the third power times 3 times 10 to the fourth power. Now what I'm going to do is rearrange it so that the first term, 2.5, is going to be multiplied by 3. So I'm going to multiply these together first. And that gives me 7.5. And then I'm going to multiply together my powers of 10. And remember, when you multiply powers of 10, or when you multiply powers that have the same base, so these are the same base, we said that as long as you're multiplying two monomials with the same base, you could add your exponents. So I'm just going to add the exponents. So the 3 and the 4, if I add those together, I get 7. So multiplying together these two numbers, I get 7.5 times 10 to the 7th power for my answer. So the commutative property says it's okay to rearrange the order when you're multiplying. So just to recap, I am multiplying the decimals. So multiply the decimal numbers. So that would be the first part of each. So right here and right here. So multiply the decimals. And then I am adding the exponents. Because we have the same base of 10, I can add together the exponents. If you think about it in expanded form, in case you're a little bit unsure about that, 10 to the third looks like this, 10 to the fourth looks like this. So if I multiply those together, I have 7 tens, so 10 to the 7th power. So our shortcut, multiply the decimals and then add the exponents. That's what we're going to do on all of these multiplying problems with scientific notation. So next one, multiply the decimals. 3.7 times 2 is 7.4. Add the exponents. 5 plus 2 is 7. So 7.4 times 10 to the 7th power is my answer. So far the first two have been pretty smooth. Now look at this third one. This third one is multiple choice. And the first thing that I want to make sure you do is look at the 4 multiple choice answers and make sure that the numbers are written in scientific notation. Remember, scientific notation involves a decimal number that is greater than or equal to 1 and less than 10. So if you look at these decimals, 2 of them are clearly not less than 10. So I am going to eliminate B and eliminate D right away. Those numbers are not written in scientific notation. Now I'm going to go over to the problem and solve it. Multiply my decimals. 3.5 times 7. 3.5 times 7. Well, 3.5 times 7 is definitely not less than 10. It's 24.5. Then I can add my exponents. Negative 3 plus 5 is 2. So right now, my answer looks like this, 24.5 times 10 to the second power. Now, I know that's not in scientific notation. So what I could do is, I could move my decimal point 2 places to take a look at the number. So if I do that, I get the number 2,450. Now, if I move my decimal point back to where I need it to be right here, 1, 2, 3, I will get 2.45 times 10 to the third power for my answer in scientific notation. So, the correct answer over here is C. And if I look at what happened, the 24.5 times 10 to the second power, I ended up having to add 1 onto my exponent. So because this decimal here was too big, this was too big, and I needed to move my decimal point back 1, I had to add 1 onto my exponent to get my new exponent of 3. So when you're multiplying, you add. So then if you're multiplying and your number's too big, you're going to add 1 onto your exponent in order to put the decimal point in the correct place. Okay, now switching to dividing. We are going to divide the decimals, and we are going to subtract the exponents. So divide the decimals, and the shortcut with these exponents is you subtract them. So when you're multiplying, you add. When you're dividing, you subtract. All right, so divide these. Make sure you're dividing 6.6 divided by 2. That should give you 3.3. And then subtracting your exponents, 5 minus negative 2 actually turns into a super plus here. So it's 7. So 3.3 times 10 to the 7th power is my answer in scientific notation. Next one, divide 7.5 divided by 2.5 is 3. Subtract 8 minus 4 is 4. So 3 times 10 to the 4th power. So the first 2 division examples, we haven't had to do any adjusting of the decimal points. So 3 times 10 to the 4th power. Now this third one, multiple choice again. Same advice. Look at the 4 answer choices. Make sure that your decimal is greater than or equal to 1 and less than 10. These decimal numbers, 2 of them are not greater than or equal to 1. So A is too small, D is too small. So it has to be B or C. If we divide 3.45 divided by 6, that equals 0.575. And then if I subtract my exponents, 8 minus 2 equals 6. So I get 0.575 times 10 to the 6th power. Now, because we were dividing and we got something that was too small, if I need to move my decimal point over to put it in the correct place, I will need to subtract 1 from my exponent this time. So the multiplying ones, you're adding your exponents. If it's too big, you add another 1 to the exponent. When you're dividing, you subtract your exponents. So if it's too small, you subtract another 1 from your exponent. So this is the correct answer. So it is letter C. And you could take your decimal. So you have this times 10 to the 6th. You could move that decimal point 6 places and take a look at your standard form number if that helps. So the standard form number would be 575,000. So here's your decimal point. Here's where you need it to be. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is the correct exponent. So you've got a couple of options. All right, the last slide. Now we've got one multiplying and one dividing on this slide. So multiplying, so remember we multiply and we add. So multiply 8.3 times 6.2, and that's 51.46. Then I add my exponents. -4 plus 7 equals 3. All right, now this one is too big. We are adding on our exponents, so if I shift it, I add 1. So it's 5.146 times 10 to the 4th power. Last one, division. If I divide my decimals, 3.25 divided by 6.5 is 0.5. If I subtract my exponents, -2 minus 3 is -5. Now this one is too small, so if I shift it, because it's a division problem, you're subtracting exponents, I shift it, I subtract 1 more. So -5 minus 1 is -6. So 5 times 10 to the -6th power.